face a challenge of people opposing your decision to homeschool, it can be completely overwhelming and stressful, and it may make you doubt yourself and cause you to kind of wish that you hadn't made that decision. Remember, way back at the beginning of these sessions, we talked about the reason why we were homeschooling. This is why you have that plan or that reason put somewhere that you can see it. Handling opposition can be a bit of a challenge, but here's some tips that I'd like to give you. First of all, we need to understand why people tend to oppose homeschooling. The first reason is that it's different. People don't like different. They like everyone to follow the status quo and do things exactly the same and in the anticipated plan that is typically normal for everyone. So if you decide to keep your kid home from school, it's not the same as everyone else. And that makes people nervous because they don't know how to handle that difference. The next thing is that they often have preconceived ideas of what education should look like. They think that it needs to be done in a specific way in order for a child to learn and be successful in their future. Also, they don't get the idea of homeschooling, or they've got this concept of what a stereotype is for homeschooling, and that becomes overwhelming for them. They might think that homeschooling is just for religious nuts, the kind that you see in the old school pictures where they're all wearing denim dresses and denim outfits. Okay? They think it's for religious nuts who are unsocialized and unable to educate their children, that it's only for abusive parents trying to control their children, or maybe it's that they have the idea that homeschooling will fail kids at life. Whether or not anything that they think is true, they tend to be stuck on the reasons that they believe that homeschooling is wrong. It can be very hard to convince somebody who has that mindset how it actually isn't that way. If you have someone who is willing to have a conversation and to listen to your discussion, then you can go ahead and have that discussion with them, as long as you understand that you may not change their mind. Be open and civil and have a conversation where you explain the pros and cons and your experience. You might not be able to convert them, but at least they'll be able to listen to your ideas. Try not to be tongue-in-cheek. It can be very challenging to avoid the cheeky responses when you have someone who's saying things that feel completely unnecessary. If you are dealing with somebody who cannot or will not or does not listen, and you do not want to engage in a conversation with them, it is 1000% okay to set boundaries. One of my all-time favorite things to do of how to handle conflict and opposition is to do something called the bean dip maneuver. Basically, the bean dip maneuver is when you are dealing with somebody who is going to question or start a conversation that you know is going to cause conflict, you ask them to pass the bean dip. So if they say, "I hear that you've decided to homeschool Johnny this year." You go, "Yes, we have. We've made that decision. Can you please pass the bean dip?" This allows you to quickly change the conversation. It's not technically about the bean dip. It's about using a tool to be able to change the conversation, shutting down the questions, and to be able to move something different. You're not obligated to answer people's questions if it's really just intended as an inciting comment to start an argument with somebody. I have one particular person that always, every time I see them, needs to talk to me about our choice to homeschool and educate. Even after 10 plus years of educating and seeing how successful my children are doing with their education, I still find myself being questioned about our decision to homeschool and when our kids are going to be sent to real school. It's very insulting, very frustrating, but it's something that will never change in her mindset because she fully believes that that is the requirement that she has as a teacher or as a parent or as a person to say that my choices aren't valid. I do not engage in conversation with her. I tend to keep the conversation focused on other things, and I'm a very big advocate for the use of the bean dip method.